Hey, everybody. Welcome back again to this week's episode of Fearless Flight Live. I'm Captain Ron, and I'm in charge of this ship, so to speak. And along with me, our First Officer, Dieter Staudinger, and Chief Technical Officer, and our Co-Captain, Eric Larson. And tonight we'll be having a special guest again. And just a little bit of personal whining. I miss my dog. Holy cow, that has left a gap in my life. And I don't know if anyone else is aware out there, but this may be the last show I do for a while. And right now, because I got to leave my house because of some water damage last July. And they just came out last week and said, get out of your house because we're going to fix it. So right now, as near as I can tell, I may be coming to you live from Gaza next week because I can't find a place to relocate to. So anyway, who knows what's going to happen next week, but we're glad you're here tonight and joining us. And this, of course, is the place you want to be if you have any fear of flying, if you know somebody who's afraid to fly, or if you are just like to talk about airplanes there. So this is Fearless Flight Live, our weekly show. And once again, we'd like to welcome you, and we're glad you're here. I always put out a pitch for our Birds of a Feather group. We're gonna be coming up. Dieter and I are putting together a special webinar just for anyone who's in the Birds of a Feather. So if you're not a member, you'll want to consider joining, because we're going to do that. Hopefully. Oh, I'll put myself on there. We're thinking about the first part of April there, perhaps the first Sunday, something like that. But look for that in coming sessions. And we have tonight's show. We're going to talk about unlocking fearless flying, the power of staying current with the Fearless Flyer Club. We're going to talk about the Fearless Flyer Club because that is the latest and the greatest thing that we think we've come up with. Because it, as reasons we'll point out here in just a minute, it's overcoming your fear of flying. It's not a destination; it's a journey. And we have a special guest, Nancy Robb Dunst, that's going to come and talk to us. You know, we like to get people who have just gone through, and we like to get people who've been through for some time now. And Nancy falls into the latter category. Then we're going to highlight and talk about, just briefly about the next Clear for Takeoff 201 live monthly group coaching webinar coming up a week from this Thursday, March 21st at 6:30 p.m. Pacific and 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And then, as always, we will take your questions and comments there. So please leave questions for us or comments. Dieter's hard at work monitoring that for us, and we really appreciate it, because this show is really for you all out there. So how do you unlock your fearless flying? Well, one way is our Fearless Flyer Club. In the best way we've found so far is to stay current. So often I will get people who will do a lot of work, get ready and get on a flight, have a great time, have a great return trip, and then not do anything, you know. And we're not saying that you have to stay as heavily engaged, you know, if you don't fly for another year, but we're offering you a way to stay current so that you don't have to reset and go back to ground zero when you decide to fly. So often people will call me up, and, you know, after 2 or 3 years, they'll say, hey, Capt Ron, I'm feeling nervous again. What should I do? And I'll ask them, well, what have you been doing, you know, related to what you did before? And they'll say, usually nothing. And I don't shame them, but I just say, geez, you know, you want to keep current to as best you can. And so we'll look at these topics here: the illusion of one-time fixes. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the Fearless Flyer Club in greater detail for those of you who aren't members and may not know. We'll talk about it as a resource. And one of the biggest pitfalls that I just touched on is inaction. We have a success story firsthand here tonight, which you'll hear in just a minute, and we'll talk about how to join it, and then we'll conclude it by telling you what you can do. So one of the first things is, people who grapple with flight anxiety fall into simple one-time solution trap. They think that their hopes are that it will be a one-time fix, and it's really a process. Like I said, it's more of a journey than a destination, and it involves overcoming flight anxiety. Involves replacing old thoughts and memory networks until the new neuron pathways are formed, creating lasting change. And that sounds kind of complicated, but what it really means is you got to find new information and retrain your way to think about flying, because that's where the solution lies. This cartoon I thought was appropriate there. These are two big rolls of duct tape. It would appear to be the Silver Duct Tape Incorporated factory. And he says, the numbers don't look good. Ironically, there's no quick fix. Well, just like fear of flying, there isn't any quick fix. There's a lot of things that you can use that involve distraction to get on the flight much quicker. But the long-term fix, and I really do mean a fix, you don't have to settle for just not being freaked out. You can get to the point where you no longer think about the airplane while you're flying. And that is the Fearless Flyer Club. And this is, let me expand this just a little bit. This is the home page. It's a whole subscription that you'll be eligible to join. And in the next screen, I'm going to take you over right to that. It's a dynamic and evolving resource, just like the slide says. And so when you get over there, once you have a login, and I'll show you the different levels that you can join on, you get to this first page, which has the course curriculum. It has a welcome page. It has download the app that we're talking about, our Zenler app, that you can then participate in anything related to programs that you have with Fearless Flight. You can get them on your iPhone, and it makes it much more usable, so that you don't have that as an excuse anymore. And then these are so far the 2024 monthly live group coaching webinars. You can go back, you get access to these. And if you have ever purchased and been a member of the Clear for Takeoff 201 online course, as long as you are a member in the club, you get unlimited access to the Clear for Takeoff 201 online course. So the previous webinars are archived here. And you can see that we go all the way back to 2022. We started, oh my gosh, we started back in April of 2022. So we're coming up on our second year anniversary now. And we've been expanding it and adding features to it. For sure, you're always going to get a bit of psychoeducation at the beginning of the show. You're going to get usually an opening webinar, guided visualization, and then we close it with another guided visualization. And then after the psychoeducational piece, we invite people who are on the call live or on the Zoom show live. We invite them to interact and talk about where they're working on, what they're working on, where they're stuck, what they need to do, and talk about successes. And it's just a great forum for people to interact in. Okay, and then talk about the pitfalls. Well, the pitfalls can be significant. And the biggest one is not doing anything. Like I mentioned, people spend time and money to get to the point where they can get on an airplane and make it to their destination, their vacation spot, their business meeting, or whatever. And then they do wonderfully on the way over, on the way back, and then they go inactive and don't do anything. And the biggest temptation is to say, it didn't work for me. Well, it took you years to get those neuron pathways formed where they weren't serving you well, and they're not going to disappear overnight. Many of you who've seen this, one of the slides I use, I have a picture of a path running through a forest, and that's symbolic of the neuron pathways in our heads, in our brains, and habit thinking is just another habit, and even the dysfunctional thoughts that we have, whether it's related to fear of flying or anything else like that, we wear them down until they're well traveled, and we automatically think of that. It's kind of like writing your name with your preferred hand. You don't even have to think about it anymore. And we're constantly being bombarded with those thoughts that are using those old neuron pathways. So to change the way you think, You have to do something to create a new path through the forest. And just as if you were walking through the forest, it's going to take a while. It's going to take some conscious effort, and it's going to be effortful. And you have to learn how to be mindful and make sure that you stay on that new path, because otherwise you're going to want to go back and fall back on the previously trodden path, and it's going to be very difficult to make lasting change and success for that. So it's really important to do that. And one of the things that people often say is that, they'll buy things, and we have people that subscribe to the 201 course or whatever, and then they leave it dormant, and they leave it collect dust, metaphorically, if you can do that electronically. And then when people ask, or when they question themselves about the value of that, they say, well, it didn't work for me. Well, it doesn't work if you don't work it. And that's another reason why the Fearless Flyer Club is such a great tool, because it inspires people who are out there working the program and talking about fixes that they've used. Okay, now I was looking for somebody to interact with us tonight, and out of nowhere, seemingly, I got this call. And let me play this for you. This is what I found on my phone literally just last evening.
Hi, Captain Ron Nielsen. This is Nancy Dunst. About 20 years ago, I took a class from you for about a year not on flying.
Whoops, did it stop?
Yes, it did.
Oh, come on.
Not being afraid.
There we go.
And I want to call and thank you so much, because since your class, I not only have flown around in the United States, but I've also flown to Ireland and to Italy. And if it wasn't for you, I would not have been able to do this. And I so appreciate the fact that you helped a number of us get on the airplane. So I hope you have a wonderful day. My phone number is 928-221-3202. This is my cell phone, so you can text me if you want. So I just thought I'd call you because Thursday I am flying to Austin, Texas, and I'm excited about it. So I just wanted to let you know, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Bye-bye now.
And just like magic, here's Nancy. If we can get her to show her camera there. Hi, Nancy. Oh my gosh. You and I have talked today, and I can't tell you how grateful I am that you appeared out of the mist, and talk about perfect timing. I had no idea that, and that's one of the joys of doing this, is the feeling that I get when people call in, and you only call just to leave a message, which is so kind. And that's the best kind of feedback. I get interviews all the time with media folks, and they'll say, well, how successful is it? And I say, well, a lot of times I don't really know, because I never hear back from people. And so the theme here is not getting stuck. So can you add something to that? So, tell us a little bit about your history and take it away.
Okay, well, first I want to say to you that in regard to that phone call, I thought a lot about it. Actually, I called you for some reassurance, but then I realized that I should thank you for helping me, because you helped me travel all over the world. And so that's what I ended up doing, was thanking you. And it reduced my anxiety a little bit, because I'm going on a flight Thursday and I was a little anxious. And that actually was why I called you. But I didn't even need to talk to you. It just hearing your voice, on the phone. And it was so that was about that phone call. Okay.
And I talk about the power of community, whether it's just me or rekindling, because you experienced that when you went through. But it's so true. We when we have fears and anxieties like this, we so often isolate, because we think, nobody has it like I do. Nobody is as bad as me. Or if they really knew what I was thinking, would stand away from me. So thanks for that. But that's the power of connecting, and people can do that through our birds of a feather and just showing up every week. So thanks again for doing that.
Well, and part of that really had to do with inactivity. I haven't flown for 10 years. I've
Yeah.
flown a lot, but I haven't flown for about 10 years because of COVID and several other reasons. And consequently, I was feeling a little anxious.
Uh-huh.
So when I feel anxious about a trip coming up, I make a goodie bag. And I thought I would share that with your class of people. Okay, here's my little sayings card. Okay,
Okay.
and it says, none of my friends have died flying. Number one. Number two, no plane has ever crashed because of turbulence or sound. Number three, flying is the safest way to travel. Number four, the pilot doesn't want to crash either. And number five, flying is 20 times safer than the car, and I'm in my car every day. And so that's part of what I have. And then I also have what I call is a little note to myself.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And this one says, put on your mask because I think I need a COVID mask. And have a program to play on your phone or your iPhone or something to take on the plane with you. And
Sure.
go to the bathroom before you get on the plane and sit over the wing because it is the smoothest.
Yeah.
So this is all little things I have in my goodie bag besides gum and things to eat. And I also have some pictures. I think you still go on the airplane. So that was the one that was going to make me really nervous.
Sure.
So I took my camera and I took a picture of Ron. And here he
Oh my
is.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was him leading us onto the airplane.
Oh,
And then this is not the pilot, but this was a maintenance guy who
oh
was
yeah. Yeah.
fixing something before we got. He was fixing something in the kitchen. Okay,
Yeah.
and then here's a picture of the people on the plane.
Yeah.
Now, in addition to taking pictures, I videotaped everything so that when the sounds went on, I knew what they all were. And that was really helpful because sound can be kind of scary.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that's some of the things that I still do now. If I haven't flown for a while, I didn't know I was anxious. I screamed at my husband the other day, and I realized that I was anxious. So I get anxious 2 weeks before I fly and 3 days before I fly. So I realized I was anxious. I took Aviation, and that was great. I didn't need one today. I won't need one tomorrow because it was just that third day that was hard for me. And some of you may find that you have particular days that might be hard for you. I did want to share with you that the reason I wanted to fly was because my husband told me that he wanted to travel. And my husband's real important to me. I didn't want to
Right.
lose him. So I had to decide, is my fear of losing him more important than my fear of flying? Well, my losing him won. So I took the class and it seemed like I took it for a year. And I trembled every time I drove to the airport just to go there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure the whole concept was just terrifying of me. I didn't even tell my husband because I didn't think I could do it.
Yeah.
Um, I I had a million questions, and I'll share with you what some of them were. What's the best time to fly? so there's no turbulence. How long does the pilot get to sleep before he flies? And we had other questions like, if I get over up on the airplane, will that make the airplane tilt? You know, I had some really funny fears. Um, and every time I flew, I always made notes about what my flight was like, what I had in my goodie bag, how did things go on that flight. And that was really helpful for the next flight, especially for this one, since I haven't done it in so
So
long.
you actively journal, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be fabulous in size or scope or anything, but just I tell people just make notes of what works, what didn't work for you, and
Yeah.
things you need to learn and work on.
Yeah. And
Plus,
that's,
it keeps your mind active and engaging and proactive while you're flying, rather than reactive, trying to say, "Oh, what was that sound? Oh my gosh, that can't be good," and things like that. So, and I noticed that's kind of a theme with what you're doing. You take a lot of action, which is the opposite of inaction.
yeah, I take a lot of time and um, I changed a couple of things. Number one, my self-talk. This was the first time I had to fly. I can't tell you. I mean, I imagine you know. I was terrified, probably just like some of you, absolutely terrified. And so I decided to change my self-talk about airplanes. Whenever I would see an airplane up in the air, I would say, "Oh my God, those poor people."
Yeah.
So I changed that to, "Oh, those lucky people, I wonder where they're getting to go."
Yeah.
Okay, so that's self-talk, changing that. I expanded my tolerance of fear. So I did things that I was afraid of, like going on a roller coaster or going on a vertical carousel or going up 50 feet floors in an elevator.
Uh-huh.
I did a lot of those things to get used to having a certain level of fear so that I could accept it. And I
And
got,
that's exercising those neural pathways in your brain, finding which ones they are, and then paving another path through the forest by doing
yeah.
something that's contrary to that. Yeah, very good. Very
And
good. Very
so
creative.
this time on this flight, the reason I'm going is it's my best friend's birthday, and I want to go, and I'm very excited about going and having fun with her. And that's a really important thing to think about where you're going. Even if
Sure.
you're going to a funeral, you might think about who else you're going to see there, who you haven't seen in 10 years, and what a wonderful reunion it may be.
Yeah.
So it's really important to make where you're going into a positive experience.
And how long had you had anxiety all your adult life, flying, you said you came to the class in 1999, we decided.
Yeah.
But what was your path leading up to that? Had you stopped flying or not flown
Oh,
or
I
never
didn't
flown?
fly for 20 years.
Okay, okay. And was that
Yeah,
as a
I
result?
didn't go to funerals. I didn't go
Yeah,
to parties. I
yeah.
missed a lot.
Was that as a result of a bad experience, Nancy, or just building anxiety, or had you ever flown comfortably?
No, I flew a lot alone before that when I was a kid, and I
Yeah.
didn't enjoy it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's what happened, I
Yeah.
think.
And if I can be so intrusive, what was the reason you flew alone a lot as a kid?
I was in boarding school.
Boarding school. Okay.
I was in boarding school, so I flew from Arizona to California a lot.
God, God. And I find that's a common history for a lot of people when they flew as children, either boarding schools or oftentimes is the products of divorce. And so on top of a sad experience, it now gets merged with the flying experience. And I say that there's nothing
Yeah.
easier and to transfer your anxiety from whatever's going on in your life to an airplane, because it has so many unusual and unfamiliar sights, sounds, and sensations. So it makes perfect sense why the brain says, oh, see that? That's another thing about this that I don't like. So again, kudos to your courage and reaching out and just being such a wonderful person to thank me today or yesterday and leave that phone call. I get them all the time, but they never get old. They never get old. And yours was so delightful.
Oh, that's good. Well,
Yeah.
so does anyone have any questions, or did you answer all the questions?
Yeah, let me call Dieter in here and see if he's been picking up. I'm sure we've got a lot of people giving you high fives and thumbs
There's
up.
a lot of hearts and a lot of thumbs going here. One of the questions that was coming through was when you're creating your how did you call that? Your
the note card? The note card?
No,
the note card. So
my goodie bag. My
your goodie bag.
or-
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
So the question was how did you come up with that idea, and when you put it in into work for you, have you noticed that over time it loses its effect? So that was the question. Is it still working for you the same way when you started using the goodie bag?
Yeah, it still works for me, but I really don't need it now. It's just like a security blanket, you know.
And I'll tell you because I know a little bit more about you. One of the things, you used to be a therapist, and you left being a therapist to be an artist, correct? And you have you at least used to have a work in Terminal 3 at Sky Harbor, that's a major accomplishment for those of us in Arizona. But nonetheless, and I pointed out that in my 36 and a half years of doing this, one of the things, the common themes that I found is people who are very creative also tend to be very bothered by fears of flying, and I think it's because the place that creates gives us all our creativity is also the one that conjures up all these frightful experiences. And so
Sure.
Not surprisingly, the more creative you are, the more you can scare yourself sometimes, and so it's very difficult. I have a lot of people in LA that are involved in TV and motion pictures, and they'll be script writers and things like that. And I'll ask them what they do for a living. They say, "Oh, I'm a writer." And I'll say, "What do you write?" "Oh, I write scary stories." They say, "No wonder, you do something that comes naturally to you, but you can't shut it off," which is the problem. It just keeps going and going and going. So any other questions, Dieter?
No, but I do want to bring in, now seems a great time to bring in that we have a quiz, because you've mentioned the webinars and
let me just
from hold on, there's Sandra just said, "Glad to hear from you, Nancy. Kudos to you." So
Thank you.
yeah, as you can see, your story resonates very much with others, because we can all find ourselves in there somewhere and take a piece from your courage. So, there's another question for you, Nancy. Did you use the harmonizer, the Fearless Flight Kit, at all?
I'm not sure what a harmonizer is.
Okay, I think in 1999 it may not have been out yet. Yeah.
I'll be sending you a copy just for showing.
Thank you.
It's a program with videos and digital products in there. But one of the things it's the most popular is a 32-minute audio program that has a mixture of voices and stuff like that. So I'll send that to you, Nancy.
That'd be great.
Yeah. And people.
Great. I did want to say one more thing, and that was after the first 2 flights I took, which one was 45 minutes and one was an hour, I got an invitation to a biennial in Florence, Italy.
Oh my gosh.
Now, you talk about terrified. I thought, oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. But you can't turn that down. a biennial.
That's a very popular
or-
question. People equate long flights with misery, and so how was it? How did you prepare for it, and how did you make it?
Well, I made the goodie bag and I brought my husband with me, and I asked my doctor to give me a sleeping pill.
Okay. Okay.
But I didn't sleep the whole time because it didn't last that long. So I
Right.
played cards and
Yeah.
watched the TV a little bit and stuff, again, scary to move on the airplane. I thought it might do something to it, but I did.
But
So,
the one thing that it sounds like you did was you committed to going, and you said, "I'm
oh
going to
yeah.
go." And
Oh my
again,
God. It was the top of my life success story,
yeah,
going
yeah.
to Italy to show my art. Oh my gosh.
That's fantastic.
Mhm.
So stay with us. If you have anything that
I
comes up,
will.
just don't hesitate to bring it up here. And I'm going to mention this quiz, and Dieter's going to give us the parameters here. We came up with a quiz this week for just to measure, give you a sense of measuring whether or not you would benefit from something like an ongoing program like the Fearless Flyer Club. And when you go through this, there are 8 questions, and then there's a scoring criteria there. And Dieter, tell them about where they'll find the link, and tell them the big prizes that we are coming up with here.
Okay, so let me I put it in chat. So if you just look in chat, you'll find the link to the quiz. And so the quiz is open for 1 week. Next week on the show, we will choose 3 lucky people who get to join our monthly group coaching webinar on Thursday.
Thursday, 21st, yeah.
Yeah, Thursday the 21st at 6:30 Pacific. And the grand prize will be a coaching session with Capt Ron. So all you gotta do is click on a link, go through the 8 questions, and they're just single button answers, so it should be really quick. And it'll give you a really good sense on whether or not you are a good match to becoming a Fearless Flyer and a Fearless Flyer Club member. And I know that there were a couple of comments about meditation. So the monthly group coaching call is a little bit different than our Tuesday sessions here, because we have at least one guided meditation or visualization where we really go a little bit deeper than just the cerebral talking about things. It's really experiencing it with our whole body, just like you experience your flight anxiety with your whole body. When you think about going on a flight, we have to recontextualize and re-experience that nervousness and that anxiety in a new way. And so that's why every one of those webinars has one of those meditations. And then, of course, we also give you the opportunity to, I don't like the word hot seat so much, but we give you the opportunity to really bring forward what it is that's up for you, and especially if you have a flight coming up, or if there's something going on in the news that we can maybe go a little bit deeper on than just the headlines and the attention grabbing. Then that is really the time for you to join. So yeah. Let me see.
Yeah, so every month when we have this coaching call, we're organized. Usually we have an opening visualization, and then we have a piece of psychoeducation like that we'll talk about. We'll add some level of deeper understanding on something, and then we'll open it up to people who are there live. We'll talk to them. We'll answer their questions. Maybe they're stuck. Maybe they're taking the 201 course and they have some questions about an area like that, or they just want to know how they can get on the flight the next week coming up. And then we usually close with another guided visualization there. And I was going to open this up here. If I go start, I was going to see if I'm in the actual area here, and I thought I'd give them a little look-see at this, Dieter, to okay. So here is this is the actual portal that you'll see you'll get access to the webinars and everything. And then these are the past ones. So this is 2024. So there's a place to register live for the next one up here. Get your questions answered. You can submit questions here. And then these are yet to be published. And then if we look at the 2023 things I was going to show. So we have a collection now of video meditation. So we have guided visualizations. So look at all that. So you can get all of those past ones. So there's coming up on 2 years worth of information here that you can have access to. And then, as I mentioned earlier, if you are have been a subscriber to the Clear for Takeoff 201 course, you also get access to the 201 database there as well. So there's a lot of stuff in here, and we really encourage you to try to take advantage of that. Let me go down here. Okay.
Yeah, and we also have the there's a couple of bonus webinars in there, and a lot of the audio meditations are enhanced with music as well.
Yeah,
it's actually a big shout out to
I'm enhancing
Fearful Flyer.
Yep, I have a one of our past graduates helps me with enhancing them. So we're putting music on all of them, and in coming down the road, we're gonna enhance them further, like we do the FearlessFlight Harmonizer, and we're gonna put other tracks on there. And so this is nearing the conclusion here. How do you do this? You fly high and you stay fearless. And how do you stay fearless? You stay engaged, just like Nancy said here. Never ever completely withdraw and put down your tools, because you need them to just keep doing those neuron pathways. We tend not to be aware of all of the unconscious chatter that goes on in our mind, that little voice in there that's always creating doubt and uncertainty. And it was designed to keep us alive, but for some of us, it's become problematic. And we have our mascots here representing the two processes in the mind. Our eagle over there, we used to have a little chicken, and we had a t-shirt that on the front it said, I used to be I was a little chicken about flying, and in the back says, I found out I was an eagle in training. And that's the way we look at this. Everybody's got fears. Everybody's got fears. If you've heard me tell my story about my first jet trainer ride in the Air Force, I had no idea what was going on. As much as I wanted to fly, I had some anxiety about that, a lot of anxiety, as a matter of fact, and thought I was going to wash out. But we all have the eagle within us, and that represents the logical part of our mind. But in comparison to the elephant, which represents our emotional part of our mind, it's really minor in comparison in terms of the dominance. Imagine that little eagle riding up on top of a huge enormous elephant, and the elephant that represents the intuitive, the automatic part of our brain, and it wanders around. It makes good decisions, but when it makes bad decisions and goes in the wrong direction, it can be very formidable. And that's those fears and anxiety that you get on the threshold of flying, which Nancy attested to here. No matter how good you get at this, you'll have those little bits of doubt that'll come up. But you'll find out that once you deeply work on those, you'll come up with new pathways, and they won't go on for the whole flight. They may be the first 5 or 10 minutes, you might have anxious moments, but they'll go away. So you can all do this, and we encourage all of you to do whatever you can to stay connected and stay in the process there. So, okay. All right. That's a whirlwind show again tonight. I'll ask Dieter one more time. Any other final comments from anybody that we need to address?
No, I think we covered them all.
Okay. Eric, when I say a quick shout out to anybody who saw the 787 thing, there'll be more to come. Next week, you're going to do the crew edition, and we'll maybe have more. You want to touch on that just a little bit for anybody who might be scared out there about that?
I can do that for 30 seconds. Next week is crew edition. We'll have a chance to gather more information. I was ready with a smart mouth thing. If Dieter had a question, I was going to say, what 787 thing? But that is so far outside the realm of incidents that occur. It is very tough right now with the information available to have a clue what happened. It appeared that it was doubtlessly internal as opposed to external, like weather. That's the bad news. The good news is the airplane is on the ground, intact in Auckland, and it measures every single input of every flight computer. Every system in the airplane is constantly monitored. And so if we wait a week, we will doubtlessly be able to gather more information and talk about that with you a little bit. And we'll sure address what's known by then. But it's right now, it's just TV drama, and even the experts are guessing all over the map. So give us a week. I'll stay on top of it and see what we can do to talk about that a little bit next week.
Yeah. So the one thing that you can count on, the reason it makes the news is because it's so unusual. That's why aviation stuff, because they're never in the news, and that's why they get reported. Another thing, this will go along with what Eric's saying. I've been the responsible party for creating an excursion. Once in a while, it was just I wasn't monitoring my climb rate, and I needed to level off much more abruptly. And if I could do that in an airplane, you can feel your tummy displaced in you, and it gets your attention. So I'm imagining it'll be something like that. It doesn't appear to have lasted more than seconds, or maybe even a second. And that makes me suspect that maybe somebody bumped the control wheel or something like that. We may find something that simple about that. But again, you look at how many times it didn't happen before, how many it didn't happen since. And of course, we're super, super nervous because of the Boeing's ill-gotten reputation here over the last few years, and the fact that it was a Boeing. So try to hold your worries, keep them under tow, and do what Nancy suggested. If you're going to fly, make yourself a little goodie bag and put some things in there that are going to help you keep your mind off of things that could be troublesome. So, and last, so thanks, Eric. Thanks, Dieter. And thank you again, Nancy, for coming on. And thank you for that wonderful, touching phone call that you left for me. That will remain immortalized on my computer here. So thanks so much. And I hope you
have a great trip, Nancy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
I will. I'm looking forward to it.
Nice to meet you.
All right.
Thanks to all of you out there. Thanks to all of you out here for joining us again. And we'll see you again next week for Fearless Flight Live.